Little House on the Prairie was more than just a TV show, it was a heartfelt journey through love, family, and perseverance on the American frontier. With a talented cast bringing Laura Ingalls Wilder's stories to life, the series became a cherished classic for generations. But sadly, many of the beloved actors who made the show so special are no longer with us. In this video, we pay tribute to 36 stars from Little House on the Prairie who have tragically passed away, remembering their incredible careers, personal struggles, and the circumstances of their deaths. Join us as we celebrate their legacy and the mark they left on television history. Michael Landon, best known for his role as Charles Ingalls on Little House on the Prairie starting in 1974, had a career filled with both triumphs and personal struggles. He was beloved by fans for his portrayal of the dedicated father, yet his real life was not without its share of turmoil. Landon faced multiple marriages, with his first two ending in divorce, and despite his fame, his personal life was often marred by the challenges of his relationships. He had a complicated family life with 9 children from his marriages. His final years were consumed by a battle with pancreatic cancer, a disease he fought bravely but ultimately succumbed to on July 1, 1991, at the age of 54. His wealth, estimated at around $40 million, included real estate in Malibu, California, and investments, which were divided among his family. Michael's legacy lives on through his children and his remarkable career, but his death left behind a bittersweet reminder of a man who never fully achieved personal happiness. Richard Bull, known for playing Nels Olson on Little House on the Prairie, lived a career filled with steady roles but little fanfare. His personal life remained private, and his 60-year marriage to actress Barbara Collentine was marked by stability. Together, they enjoyed a quiet life in a retirement community in Calabasas, California, where Bull spent his later years. Despite his long career, Bull did not leave behind significant wealth. His estate consisted of only modest savings and personal belongings. His financial legacy was not a large one, but his contribution to television was invaluable. Bull passed away on February 3, 2014, at the age of 89, after battling pneumonia. His death marked the end of a long career as a dependable character actor who, although not wealthy, was deeply respected for his work on screen. Bull's life was simple, with little tragedy aside from the quiet passing of time and a relatively modest estate left behind. Dabbs Greer, who portrayed Reverend Robert Alden from 1974, had a career that spanned over 6 decades, but his personal life was marked by a series of struggles and tragedies. Greer had a loving but childless marriage, and though he found professional success, his health was a constant concern in his later years. He struggled with kidney and heart disease, which led to his death on April 28, 2007, at the age of 90. His final years were spent in Pasadena, California, in a modest home, with little wealth to pass on. Greer's estate, primarily consisting of personal belongings, was not significant. Despite not amassing a fortune, Greer's legacy in television remains respected. His death from complications related to his health was the end of a long, productive life in show business. Though his personal life wasn't without hardship, his contribution to Little House and television as a whole remains an enduring part of his story. Catherine McGregor, who portrayed the scheming Harriet Olsen from 1974, led a life that was private and often solitary, contrasting greatly with her character's over-the-top persona. Throughout her career, McGregor found herself typecast in roles that required her to portray strong, often unlikable women, but she found solace in the quiet, reflective life that followed her TV success. She never married, and her personal life was marked by a lack of family. Instead, McGregor lived in a long-term care facility in Woodland Hills, California, for the last years of her life. Although her net worth was not significant, she remained content, focusing on her love for animals and nature. McGregor passed away peacefully on November 13, 2018, at the age of 93. Her death was a quiet one, in stark contrast to her lively and dramatic character. She left behind a modest estate, and while she may not have amassed great wealth, her role on Little House left a lasting impact on television history. Kevin Hagen, who played Dr. Hiram Baker on Little House on the Prairie, lived a life that mirrored his character's calm and thoughtful nature. However, his personal life faced struggles, as his marriages did not endure, and he never had children. His later years were overshadowed by his battle with esophageal cancer, which ultimately took his life on July 9, 2005, at the age of 77. Hagen's estate was modest, including his home in Grants Pass, Oregon, and personal belongings, with little in the way of wealth accumulated from his decades-long acting career. Despite this, Hagen was well respected by his peers, and his role as the wise, caring doctor left a lasting impression on audiences. His passing from cancer marked the end of a life spent dedicated to acting, though his personal journey was defined by personal loss and quiet retirement. His legacy remains in the hearts of fans, even if his financial footprint was not grand. Merlin Olsen, who joined Little House on the Prairie in 1977 as Jonathan Garvey, was a beloved actor known for his on-screen charm and strong presence. His portrayal of the humble yet steadfast Garvey struck a chord with audiences, but off-screen, Olsen's life was marred by personal grief. He faced a painful divorce in the 1990s, and though he remarried later, the wounds of his previous marriage remained. His role on Little House was pivotal in securing his fame, yet Olsen's career had already been solidified through his earlier successes as a football star. As a former NFL player, his transition into acting was seamless, but it wasn't without its challenges. His later years were overshadowed by a battle with mesothelioma, a rare cancer linked to asbestos exposure. Olsen passed away on March 11, 2010, at the age of 69, and left behind a legacy valued at approximately $10 million. He owned a beautiful home in Duarte, California, and his estate, including various investments, was passed down to his family. Prairie, who portrayed Alice Garvey beginning in 1976, experienced both professional success and heartbreaking personal struggles throughout her life. Known for her warmth on-screen, Prairie's off-screen life was filled with heartache, including the loss of a close family member to illness, which profoundly affected her. Her time on Little House was an important chapter, but after leaving the series, she struggled to find steady work in Hollywood. Prairie's personal life was marked by a difficult marriage, and her later years were often filled with solitude. Despite these trials, she remained an optimistic figure in interviews, speaking about her love for acting and her gratitude for the roles she had played. Her career, however, was not without its financial difficulties. She lived in Norfolk, Virginia, and her estate included a modest home and personal belongings. Her net worth was not substantial, and she did not leave behind a large fortune. Sadly, Prairie passed away on August 23, 2023, at the age of 78, due to a brain tumor. Victor French, best known for his portrayal of Isaiah Edwards on Little House on the Prairie starting in 1974, had a life that mirrored the struggles of his beloved character. Off-screen, French faced a series of personal hardships, including a troubled marriage that ended in divorce. He was married twice, with 2 children from his first marriage, but the strain of his acting career took a toll on his relationships. French's personal battles were never far from the public eye, as he often spoke about his challenges in interviews. The role of Isaiah Edwards had a profound impact on his career, bringing him recognition, but it also trapped him in a typecasting that made it difficult for him to break free into more diverse roles. French's health deteriorated quickly in the late 1980s as he was diagnosed with lung cancer. At the time of his death on June 15, 1989, at the age of 54, he had amassed a modest fortune of around $2 million. Carl Swenson, who played the beloved Lars Hansen from 1974, had a career that spanned decades, but his personal life was far from easy. Swenson, a character actor known for his rugged and reliable portrayals, never reached the heights of fame seen by some of his co-stars, but his work was beloved by those who knew him. Unfortunately, his private life was overshadowed by a troubled family situation. Swenson's marriage had difficulties, and the strain of working long hours on set, paired with his relatively low earnings, made it difficult for him to find peace in his personal life. His death came unexpectedly at the age of 70 from a heart attack on October 8, 1978. At the time, his net worth was modest, and his estate consisted mainly of his home in Torrington, Connecticut, and a few personal belongings. Though his career was full of character roles, he was never able to secure the type of financial stability or recognition that other stars enjoyed. Shannon Doherty, who joined Little House on the Prairie in 1982 as Jenny Wilder, became a household name, though her career was marred by personal challenges. Known for her later roles in Beverly Hills, 90210 and Charmed, Doherty's life was full of highs and lows. Her role on Little House helped her gain recognition, but it was her turbulent personal life that kept the tabloids busy. Her marriage to photographer Kurt Iswarienko ended in separation after several years, and her relationship with her family was often strained due to her volatile career. Doherty's battle with cancer, which she bravely documented publicly, was a major tragedy in her life. Her health struggles were compounded by financial strain, despite a career that spanned both television and film. Doherty's estate, including her home in Malibu, California, was valued at $5 million at the time of her death on July 13, 2024 at 53. Her investments, though substantial, were ultimately overshadowed by her personal struggles. Doug Taylor, best known for his role as Houston Lamb in Little House on the Prairie in 1980, led a career that, while filled with memorable roles, never reached the heights of stardom. His role as a guest character on the show added depth to the storyline, but it wasn't enough to catapult him to major fame. Taylor's personal life, however, was filled with bittersweet moments. His marriage, though lasting, was marred by years of struggles, and there is no record of children or public details about his personal relationships. Despite his career in Hollywood, Taylor's financial situation was modest. His estate included a modest home and personal belongings, with a net worth estimated at around $1 million. His home in Los Angeles was simple, with no extravagant assets or luxury items. Taylor's later years were spent largely in seclusion, dealing with health issues. On October 3, 1994, at the age of 87, he passed away from congestive heart failure. Moses Gunn, who portrayed Joe Kagan on Little House on the Prairie starting in 1977, was known for his commanding presence on screen, yet his life off-screen was filled with struggles that mirrored some of the difficulties his characters faced. Gunn, an accomplished actor, had a career that spanned theater, film, and television. However, his personal life was not as stable. Gunn battled asthma, which worsened as he aged, and this eventually led to his death on December 16, 1993, at the age of 64. Despite his fame, Gunn's financial status was relatively modest. He lived in Guilford, Connecticut, and his estate, estimated at $1 million, consisted mainly of his home and personal belongings. Gunn was married but experienced the pain of divorce, and while he had no children, his life was marked by a deep love for his craft. His passing due to complications from asthma left a gap in both his family's life and in the entertainment world. Don "Red" Barry, who portrayed Judd Larrabee in Little House on the Prairie in 1976, had a career marked by ups and downs, with his personal life often overshadowing his professional one. Barry's most tragic moment came with his death by suicide, following a domestic dispute. His marriage had been troubled, and the emotional strain ultimately led to his decision to take his own life. At the time of his death, Barry was living in North Hollywood, California. His estate included a modest home and personal effects, with a net worth of around $1 million. Barry was 70 years old when he passed away on July 17, 1980. His death was a tragic conclusion to a career that had once shown promise, but was marred by personal struggles, particularly with relationships. His life left behind a relatively small financial legacy, as the emotional toll of his personal life overshadowed any lasting financial accomplishments. Ivan Bonner, who played Mr. Case in Little House on the Prairie in 1977, had a career that was primarily characterized by supporting roles. Though he worked steadily in Hollywood, his roles were often small and his career never quite achieved the fame of other actors from the series. His personal life was mostly private, with little known about any romantic relationships or family life. Bonner faced personal challenges, particularly as he aged, and his health struggles ultimately led to his early death. He passed away in Los Angeles on December 8, 1988, at the age of 64, following a battle with cancer. Bonner's estate was modest, including only his home and a few personal belongings. His net worth at the time of his death was estimated to be around $500,000, which was largely tied to his home and personal effects. His death marked the end of a quietly lived career, without major wealth or a lasting financial legacy. James Jeter, known for his role as Hans Dorfler in Little House on the Prairie from 1974, had a rather understated career in Hollywood. His role on the show, while not a major one, nevertheless cemented his place in the hearts of fans of the iconic series. After leaving Little House, Jeter remained largely out of the limelight, living a modest and private life. Despite his minor role, the show brought a sense of stability to his career, though it didn't lead to major roles or financial success. Jeter never married, and there is little public information regarding any family life or romantic relationships. His estate, upon his death on March 4, 2007, in Houston, Texas, was small, mostly consisting of personal belongings and a small savings account. At the age of 85, Jeter passed away quietly, leaving behind no major wealth or properties. His life reflected the quiet simplicity that he carried with him both on and off screen. E.J. Andre, best known for his role as Jed Cooper in Little House on the Prairie in 1976, was a character actor who found steady work in Hollywood throughout his career. His role in the series was significant but brief, and it remained one of his most remembered parts. Despite his long career, Andre's personal life was filled with privacy and struggles. Little is known about his family or romantic relationships, as he chose to keep his personal life out of the public eye. He lived in Hollywood, California, where he passed away on September 6, 1984, at the age of 76 from cancer. Andre's estate consisted mostly of a modest home and personal belongings, with an estimated net worth of around $500,000. Although he had a decent career, he didn't leave behind a significant fortune or property. His death marked the end of a quiet, unassuming life that had been focused more on work than wealth. Queenie Smith, who played Mrs. Amanda Mae Whipple in Little House on the Prairie from 1974, lived a life filled with both public recognition and private struggles. Her role as the sometimes sweet but also assertive Mae Whipple was just one chapter in a long career that included appearances in film and television. Smith was married but faced heartbreak when her marriage ended in divorce. While she had children, her personal life was often marked by challenges, including health problems. Her final years were spent in Burbank, California, where she passed away on August 5, 1978, at the age of 79, after a battle with cancer. Smith left behind a modest home and personal belongings, with an estate estimated at $500,000. Although she never amassed vast wealth, Smith's contributions to television remain an important part of her legacy. Her tragic passing at the age of 79 came just as she was nearing the end of her career, and her role on Little House is still fondly remembered by fans. Sunshine Parker, who portrayed the driver in Little House on the Prairie in 1974, led a life that was both simple and marked by struggles. His acting career was a minor part of his life compared to his personal experiences, and he was often typecast in roles that required little dialogue. Despite this, Parker found work in television and films, though his roles rarely brought him fame or fortune. He lived in Burbank, California, in his later years, where he spent much of his time reflecting on his humble career. Parker's personal life, much like his career, was marked by hardship. He faced difficulties in his marriages, leading to divorce, and never remarried. Parker's health eventually deteriorated, and he passed away on February 17, 1999, at the age of 71 from pneumonia. His estate was modest, consisting of personal belongings and a small home. Although his wealth was limited, his role in Little House on the Prairie remains a part of his enduring legacy. Donald Elson, who appeared as Fred in Little House on the Prairie in 1978, lived a life that was both long and filled with quiet accomplishments. He was not a central figure on the show, but his role, however brief, left a mark on fans of the series. Elson was married, though his marriage was strained, and like many of his fellow actors, his life involved personal tragedies. Elson's career was one of steady work, though he never reached major stardom. He spent his later years in Los Angeles, California, where he passed away on May 7, 2022, at the age of 99. His estate, which included a modest home and personal belongings, was valued at around $1 million. Although his wealth was not extraordinary, Elson's life was one of perseverance and quiet dignity. His passing at such an advanced age left behind an enduring legacy in the hearts of his family and fans, reminding everyone of the impact of even the smallest roles in television history. Eddie Quillen's portrayal of Buffalo Bill in Little House on the Prairie in 1977 was one of many roles in a long and varied acting career that spanned several decades. While Quillen's role on the show wasn't a lead, it contributed to his continued presence in television, a medium he had worked in for many years. His personal life, however, was filled with struggles, particularly in his later years. He battled cancer, which ultimately led to his death. Quillen was married at least once, but his family life was also marked by difficulties, with no significant public details about children or further relationships. Living in North Hollywood, California, Quillen's estate was valued at around $1 million. It included a modest home and personal belongings, but nothing extravagant. Quillen died on July 19, 1990, at the age of 83. His death was the result of cancer, leaving behind a modest financial legacy with no major assets or significant wealth accumulated in his lifetime. Ted Gehring, who portrayed the character of Ebenezer Sprague in Little House on the Prairie starting in 1975, lived a life far removed from the limelight. Gehring's career as a character actor spanned several decades, but he was never the center of attention, much like his role as the often grumpy, though somewhat endearing, Ebenezer. His personal life mirrored the simplicity of his acting career, modest and private. Gehring faced several hardships, including a troubled marriage that ended in divorce. Though he was never remarried, he focused on his work and his small family, which provided him with little wealth. He lived out his final years in Steelville, Missouri, where his estate consisted of only personal belongings and a small savings account, which reflected his modest lifestyle. His death on September 28, 2000, at the age of 71, was relatively quiet and free from the public eye. His legacy as a dependable character actor remains a part of Little House on the Prairie's lasting appeal. Troy Melton, who portrayed the ball player in Little House on the Prairie in 1975, led a life marked by both success and personal hardship. Though his role in the series was brief, it had a lasting impact on his career, helping him land small roles in television and film throughout the 1970s and 1980s. However, Melton's personal life was far from perfect. He struggled with a turbulent marriage that ultimately ended in divorce. He married once, but there were no children from the marriage, which added to the feeling of isolation he often spoke about in interviews. Melton's financial situation was modest, and despite a few high points in his acting career, he never amassed significant wealth. His estate included a modest home in Los Angeles, California, and personal belongings. When he passed away from cancer on November 15, 1995, at the age of 74, his net worth was estimated at $1 million. Though he didn't leave behind a large fortune, his life was marked by the battles he fought in both his career and personal relationships. Walker Edmiston, known for his role as Dr. Moore in Little House on the Prairie in 1977, was a man whose career was both rewarding and challenging. Edmiston, a character actor with a reputation for versatility, found his role on the show to be an important stepping stone in his career. His life, however, was filled with personal tragedies. He struggled with multiple failed relationships, and his private life was often overshadowed by the pressures of his career. Edmiston was married twice and had children from both marriages, but his family life was never stable, with multiple separations that left him grappling with loneliness. His financial life was modest, as he lived in a modest home in Woodland Hills, Los Angeles, and owned only a few personal effects. When he died from cancer on February 15, 2007, at the age of 81, his estate, which was estimated at around $1 million, was passed on to his family. Jim Bowles, who portrayed Brewster in Little House on the Prairie in 1975, had a life that was marked by struggle and personal tragedy. Although his role on the show was brief, Bowles' acting career spanned several decades, primarily in television and supporting roles. Behind the scenes, Bowles' life was filled with difficult personal experiences, including a marriage that ended in divorce. He married once but had no children, and his relationships were often marked by turmoil. His financial situation was never stable, and he lived a modest life in Sherman Oaks, Los Angeles, with his modest home and personal belongings being the extent of his estate. Bowles' death on May 26, 1977, at the age of 63 from a heart attack was a tragic end to a man who had faced many challenges in life. His estate was valued at around $500,000, which reflected his lack of financial success despite a long career in television. Wayne Heffley, who played Mr. Kennedy in Little House on the Prairie in 1974, led a quiet life outside of his acting career, which was mainly focused on supporting roles in television. His role in Little House was short-lived but significant, and Heffley's life seemed to reflect the understated characters he portrayed. Behind the scenes, Heffley's personal life was filled with heartbreak. He married once but had no children, and his relationship with his wife was marked by deep struggles, which led to a divorce later in life. Though he had some success in acting, Heffley was never able to achieve the same fame as many of his co-stars. His financial situation was modest, and he lived in a modest home in Montrose, California. When Heffley passed away on November 19, 2008, at the age of 81 from kidney failure, his estate, which included his home and personal belongings, was not substantial. John Zaremba, who portrayed Judge Adams in Little House on the Prairie in 1979, was an actor whose life was filled with both professional triumphs and personal losses. Zaremba's career spanned decades, and he was a familiar face in many popular television shows. However, his personal life was far less glamorous. He was married twice, but both marriages ended in divorce. He had children from his first marriage, but his relationships with his children were strained. His career, while steady, never reached the level of fame that many of his colleagues achieved. Zaremba's financial situation was also modest, living in a modest home in Newport Beach, California, with personal belongings comprising his estate. He passed away on December 15, 1986, at the age of 78, leaving behind an estate valued at approximately $1 million. His death was attributed to natural causes, and although he had enjoyed some success, his personal life remained a source of sadness and regret. Bill Quinn, who portrayed the conductor in Little House on the Prairie in 1975, was another character actor who made a mark on the show with a role that became memorable to fans. Although Quinn was a staple in television and film, his career was filled with many minor roles, none of which led to stardom. His personal life, while not heavily publicized, involved a marriage that was not entirely smooth. Though the details of his family life remain largely private, Quinn's role in Hollywood was mostly defined by his acting skills rather than his personal drama. He lived in Camarillo, California, where he passed away on April 29, 1994, at the age of 81 from natural causes. His estate, including his modest home and personal belongings, was estimated at around $1 million. Despite the modest wealth, Quinn's life was marked more by his professional presence than any major financial or personal tragedies. His death from natural causes was a quiet end to a career that had not been without its personal struggles. Georgia Schmidt, who played Adele Coley in Little House on the Prairie in 1974, had a career that largely remained in the background despite her role on the beloved series. Schmidt's time on the show was brief but solidified her place in television history. Her personal life was filled with challenges, particularly in her later years, as she dealt with health problems and outlived many of her contemporaries. Schmidt never married and had no children, which left her family life largely unknown. Living in Los Angeles until her death, Schmidt left behind a modest home and a few personal items, with her estate valued at around $1 million. While she had a quiet, private life, her passing in 1997 at the age of 92 was peaceful, following natural causes. The lack of significant wealth or major assets reflected her unassuming nature. Schmidt's life and career, though noteworthy in their own right, were marked more by personal solitude than by any tragic events or overwhelming success. John McLean, known for his role as Caleb Fisher in Little House on the Prairie in 1977, had a long and varied acting career that included roles in television and film. His time on the show, while brief, added to his legacy as a reliable character actor. McLean's personal life, however, was marked by health issues. In his later years, he struggled with melanoma and Parkinson's disease, which eventually led to his death. McLean's marriage and family life are not well documented, and there is little information about his relationships. He spent his final years living in Woodland Hills, California, and his estate was estimated to be worth around $1 million, including his home and personal effects. McLean's death on April 16, 1994, at the age of 76, was attributed to his battle with cancer and Parkinson's disease. Though his career had a significant impact in Hollywood, his personal life was marked by the pain of chronic illness, and he left behind a modest legacy. Who was your favorite member of the Little House on the Prairie cast? Let us know in the comments. Over the years, we've said goodbye to many beloved stars, but their incredible performances continue to live on in our hearts. Their impact on television and the memories they created will never be forgotten. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content on classic TV stars. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.